Okay, well, hello everybody and welcome to this webinar on Awaken Your Intuition. And without further ado, let's get going. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I'm really grateful that you're here, and let's have some fun and let's learn, and at the end we can chat some more. So I've got two basic promises for this webinar. The first one is that I'm going to share 7 steps that you need to take in order to awaken and access your intuition. And these are the 7 most common blocks that I encounter in the people that I work with, and the 7 most common things that I help people with, everyone, no matter what their intuition style. But we're also going to look at 4 intuition styles, and these are perhaps some of the more common ones, or the ones that people access more easily at the beginning. And I'm also going to talk about some specific challenges that people encounter with those. And so you might recognize yourself in all of the things that we're talking about. And I also just mentioned that if you don't have a piece of paper or a journal, you might want to grab one, because there's a few opportunities, if you want to do some self-exploration. And I'll just take a minute to introduce myself. I think everyone on the call probably does know me, but in case anyone's just joined who doesn't, I'm kind of a lady who has many hats. I started out as a scientist, as a biologist, and I was actually a microbiologist, and I used to travel around the planet discovering microbial biodiversity. And then I was a business negotiator in the pharmaceutical industry. And I went on this very intellectual journey and followed all of those things that a lot of us follow in terms of a career and all of that, but found that I wasn't fulfilled. And so I went on my own spiritual journey to find myself. And, you know, over many years, this has evolved. But now I am an intuitive reader. I teach people intuition and meditation. I'm an energy healer, have a radio show, and I've written books on this. And so I really have moved from being very intellectually focused to very intuitively focused, but still with a balance between the two. So I'm in the right place, but let's see if you're in the right place. And I would say you're in the right place if any of the points on this slide apply to you. So if you've had experiences in your life that you can't quite explain, more on the metaphysical side of things, or if you believe in your intuition, but you can't trust your messages, there's something stopping you from trusting it, and so you want to overcome your uncertainty, or you feel like you're blocked, but you don't know why, and you just wish that you could unblock yourself. If you want to learn your intuition style, so if there's different ways of being intuitive, so what's my groove, what's my special source, and yeah, you want to take action, you want to do something about it. And having a scientific background, I like to quote scientists who are into intuition, and here's a quote from Einstein, Albert Einstein. And I like this quote because it really describes my personal journey very well, and I would imagine that some of you really resonate with this too. So he said, the rational mind is a faithful servant, and the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. And in our culture and our society, we've got it the wrong way round. We've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. I completely agree with that. And how about you? Are you honoring the servant above the gift? Or are you honoring the gift? So let's start with a simple dictionary definition of intuition. What is intuition? It's the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. And I think that's quite a good definition, actually, because your intellect requires a little bit of time to weigh up the pros and cons, whereas intuition is instant information. So that in itself is a great reason to awaken it. But what other reasons might there be that you might want to awaken your intuition? Well, first of all, what probably jumps into your mind is the sort of spiritual type reasons. Like, well, if I could awaken my intuition, I would know why I'm here. I would know my higher purpose. I could really access my higher guidance and understand myself much better. I could find out what blocks me, and I could remove those blocks, and then I'd feel much more confident and empowered. But as well as there being spiritual reasons, there's lots of other reasons as well. There are emotional reasons. And of course, really the way to access your intuition, one of the tried and trusted ways over thousands and thousands of years is to meditate. And then of course, there's all of the benefits of meditation in that it can help you let go of stress, let go of fear, anxiety. Because you're using your intuition, you understand why things are occurring, and you're more resilient to change. You're more likely to go with the flow. You can understand other people better. You can understand yourself better. So you can lay down your own emotional boundaries, and your relationships can improve because you understand people better. And there are physical reasons as well. Accessing your intuition helps you access so much information about everything, really. And so if you're going through some kind of an illness of some sort, you can use your intuitive abilities to help you heal faster, sleep better, manage your pain, increase your energy, and improve your body systems in general. And then finally, there's mental benefits too, because accessing your intuition helps you increase your focus, increase your clarity. It can help you let go of depression and improve your decision making. Well, okay, so what's the evidence? Is it real? What's the evidence? And you know, the funny thing is, if we go back about 10 years, there wasn't even much interest in the corporate world in meditation. And over the last 10 years, that's really magnified. There's a lot going on. People have been studying it, validating it. And now, actually in the last 5 years or so, scientists are actually starting to study intuition. And they find that people who have to make fast decisions, such as nurses and doctors in the emergency room, or even family physicians, validate that they use their intuition just as much as they use their intellect. There have been studies on pregnant women, and this is an early study from the University of Arizona, but they discovered that pregnant women could predict their child's sex 70% of the time, which is way above chance. And then here's another one. A very recent study from a business school looked into CEOs and executives and their decision making, and nearly 80% of them said sometimes they go with their gut, they go with their intuition when they have to make a fast decision. They're also studying military soldiers in the battlefield, because intuition helps people make decisions quickly. They want to understand it and be able to train people to do it. So it's real, but are we all intuitive, or is it only special people that are intuitive? And as we go through this, if you want, you can join in the chat and say whether you think that we are all intuitive. So here's a few more bits of facts. 95% of people say they've had a déjà vu experience where they feel like something's happened before. Up to 98% of people have had precognitive dreams where they see the future in their dreams. And 20% of people or so say that they experience lucid dreams. So, you know, all of these examples actually relate to times when the intellect is less engaged. So when people are asleep, the intellect is less engaged and it's easier to access the intuition. But everyone has it, but how do we access it from our waking consciousness? And what do we need to know to let go of whatever it is that's blocking us? And so just imagine for a moment, if you could unblock your intuition, what would it feel like? What would you use it for? Would you use it to make decisions about your career? Should I do this job? Should I do that job? Should I change my careers? Should I report my boss for being rude to me? Whatever it is, all of those sort of angsty questions that you might get about things that go on at work, you could simply use your intuition. Money. You know, should I file for bankruptcy? Should I invest in this stock or that stock? Whatever it is for you, what's blocking my abundance? If you had access to your intuition, you would have access to all your own answers about that. Same thing with health. You know, what if the doctor says, hey, looks like we've got to take your gallbladder out, or, you know, give you an operation for this or that. If you had access to your intuition, you could decide for yourself, hey, well, I feel like I can make this better myself. I don't want my organ removed, or whatever it is. Life and life purpose again. What would it feel like if you knew why you were here in any given moment? This is my purpose. This is what I'm learning. This is how I'm expanding. And of course, that big one for people, relationships. So whether it's family, friends, lovers, what if you could use your intuition to tune in to your relationships with others? How would that change your life? So just think for a moment, how would it change my life if I could do that whenever I needed to? And be clear and trust it. Okay, so we're going to go, that's what we're going to move on to now. What blocks your intuition? And what action steps can you take to unlock your intuition? And so I recommend you grab a piece of paper or a journal right now. And what I'm going to invite you to do is, just on a piece of paper, make some columns like this. We're going to go through 7 steps that you need to take to experience your intuition. And we're going to cover 7 challenges. So one column is my intuition challenges. One column is the step I need to take to overcome my challenge and access my intuition. And as we go through it, I want you to think about each one we talk about, each challenge we talk about, and say, how much is this one resonating with me? How much does this one affect me? And just tune in and give yourself a score from 1 to 10 that says, wow, this really is a big one for me. I'll give it a 10, or no, I've got that one covered. It's not really a problem for me. So that you can just start to build a picture of where you get in your own way of accessing your intuition. So here is the first one. The first one is that, and this is I hear this from pretty much everybody really. My life is so busy. So how can I find time to develop my intuition? How can I find time to meditate when my life is this busy? When I'm so stressed out, I've got all these things I have to do. All these things are on my mind. I have all these responsibilities, all these people that are relying on me. You know, I've got kids, I've got family, I've got a job. I'm constantly running around doing this, doing that. You know what? And even if I do, I can't sit still for 5 minutes because of all the craziness in my life. Or I fall asleep every time I meditate because I'm so exhausted from this busy life that I have, and then some people say, well, yeah, so I just feel like I can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't be consistent. I put it off, even though I know it would be good for me. So life is too busy. See how much you resonate with on this challenge number 1 to accessing your intuition, and put a score in your notes. And then here is step number 1 that you need to take. Step number 1 is that you have to commit to yourself. You have to commit to spend the time and focus on developing your intuition. So to set time aside for a consistent meditation practice. Let's use the analogy of going to the gym. You know what? You could buy the gym gear, but nothing's going to happen. The flab's not going to disappear. The weight's not going to drop off necessarily if you don't establish a routine to actually go to the gym and exercise. So your intuition is like that. Anything is like that, isn't it? Really, we need to focus on it. We need to put our attention on it in order to develop it. So step number 1, and you can write it down in your notes, is have a consistent practice. Challenge number 2, I call it drunken monkeys, because the Buddha said the human mind is overrun by a barrel of drunken monkeys. That's what it's like. There's these, the thoughts are like these crazy monkeys running around. And so if this resonates with you and you say, you know, why is my mind, it's so busy all the time, I can't focus. I'm either going into the past and going over the past, or jumping into the future because I've got this to-do list and I have to think about all these things that I have to do. Or I go into my outer judge and I'm judging other people, or I go in my inner critic and I'm caught up in self-criticism. And I just go over things in my mind round and round and round and round. I've just got this super busy mind and I don't know what to do to stop it. So if that's you, then of course, that busy mind is going to get in your way of accessing your intuition. So it requires that you quiet your mind enough to tune into that still, quiet voice inside you. So step number 2 that you need to take to access your intuition is learn how to quiet your mind. Learn how to quiet your mind so that you, the spiritual consciousness, can be in charge of your reality. And of course, meditation is a fantastic way that you can use to quiet your mind. And there are some specific teachings that can really help you with this as well. Number 3, challenge number 3, I call it being an emotional basket case. And that is when your life is a roller coaster ride of emotional ups and downs, constantly going through emotional ups and downs, distracting you from your path and your purpose, or do you suffer from other people's emotions? So you get drained by others. You're in emotional overwhelm if you're in a crowd, or you just can't calm your emotions down. Anger flares up, or sadness overcomes you, or grief, and there's always some major emotional thing going on in your reality. So step number 3 that you need to take is to learn how to calm your emotions. The emotions belong to your physical body. They don't belong to you, the spiritual consciousness. And so in order to access your intuition belongs to you, the spiritual consciousness. So you need to know the difference between your emotions and you, and be able to work together with your body to help it to calm down, so it becomes a willing partner in this life journey of yours, and in this commitment to opening and accessing your intuition. The next one that I encounter is effort. People get stuck in trying very hard. I'm reading I really want to do this, so I'm reading all these books, I'm going to all these workshops, I've bought all these card decks and these crystals and these pendulums and all of these things, but I can't figure it out. Why isn't it working? So if you are in effort when it comes to your intuition, that's another sign that your body is attempting to dominate your spiritual journey. So spirit operates without effort. So whenever you use effort, that's your body. But if there's no effort going on, then that's you. Your intuition is guidance from your spiritual consciousness. And unlike the physical body, you are infinite, formless, you exist outside of time and space, and you use no effort. So step number 4 that you can write down on your little chart is to release effort. Let go and let God. Go with the flow. Step out of your own way, and all of those things that people say, it really is true. Let go of your need to control and allow everything to unfold in its own time. Let go of the effort. All right, we've got 3 more blocks to go. So just take a little look at the ones we've said so far and see what's your main one out of all of those, or are they all impacting you? So here's the next one. People get confused between their intuition and their ego. One of the signs that you're in your ego is if you get into any kind of competition with other people, or any kind of self-worth issues where you invalidate yourself, or any kind of thing where you're stuck on the expectation of what intuition should be like, or you had an experience at one time and you're trying to recapture that before, then you're experiencing this one, which I call spiritual perfectionism. And so it's going to get in your way of experience your intuition directly in the moment, and of accepting it in the moment as well. So step number 5 has to do with letting go of your expectations, whether you expect that you should be seeing dead people by now, or auras, or speaking to the angels, or whatever it is, or whether you just get hyped up on your own ego because you had an amazing experience. Step number 5 is to let go of expectations, because everyone is unique. Each individual has their own unique style of intuition. You are different to everyone around you. Your journey is your unique journey. It's different to everyone else's. So let yourself have your own unique experience in the moment of your intuition, and allow it to unfold naturally without superimposing ideas of what it should be like. Step number 5, let go of expectations. Next one's a big one. Fear. Being afraid. It's a big reason why people block their intuition. Whether it's fear of seeing the truth about yourself and thinking that you'll find out that you're bad, whether it's fear of seeing the truth about other people or your relationships, or fear of seeing something scary, like something evil, or fear of change. Well, you know what? If I tune into my intuition, it's going to tell me stuff that I should be doing. And if I do it, then I'm going to change. And if I change, that's going to affect the people around me. And what's that going to be like? Are they going to stop loving me? Or, I'm just afraid of unleashing my own power. Or I'm afraid that I'll lose touch of reality. There's a lot of things that people can be afraid of. So notice what you're afraid of when it comes to your intuition. And then, of course, step number 6 that you need to take to access your intuition is feel the fear and do it anyway. Because it's not your darkness that frightens you the most, it's your light. Usually the fear of something is much worse than the fear of the thing itself. So step number 6 is take your power back and eliminate fear. All fear is an illusion. Now, the next one, and is also a major one, just because this is supported by our culture, really. The logical mind, I find that it's a barrier to most people because it causes them to doubt their intuition. We're so entrenched in having the intellect as our primary operating system. So people get confused and they can't discern their intuition from their intellect. You know, they ask me, how can I tell the difference between my ego and my intuition, my brain from my soul? You know, how do I know it's not my ego overriding my intuition, and so on? People get very confused about it because they're just so trained to be in the intellect. So then the next step number 7, is to be able to trust your intuition, to be able to tell the difference so that you can stop doubting yourself and finally trust your intuition. All right, so here are the 7 steps you need to take to access your intuition. And so once again, you can just take a look at your list that you've made, and you know, what would be the most important one for you? Which one affects you the most? And if you want, you can share that in the chat box, what you found out about yourself. You know, what blocks you resonate with the most. And also, if there's something else that occurred to you that I didn't mention, maybe there's another challenge that you have that isn't one of those 7 steps. So I want to know what your challenges are so that I can help you to overcome them. So make a note if there's anything else as well. Now, of course, once you receive your intuitive messages and you recognize that that's what it is, the next step is to have the courage to take action. And this is another area where people get blocked. They understand what their intuition is saying, but they stop themselves from following it. So I'm just going to finish up this section with another scientist quote from Nikola Tesla. And he wasn't locked into his intellect at all. He was free to receive his inspiration from spirit. And like Tesla says, you actually are a powerful receiver and can have access to any information that you need to support your life journey. Okay, so now we're going to do part 2 of the webinar, and we're going to look at 4 different intuition styles, 4 of the most common intuition styles, and their specific challenges. So grab your journals again, because you can create another table. So you can jot down a little table that says like this: intuition style 1, 2, 3, 4. What some of the challenges associated with that specific intuition style might be, what your experiences have been with that particular style of intuition. And again, give yourself a score, which one resonates with you the most, so you can start to develop a picture of your unique individual intuition style. So here we go, intuition style number 1. And I've noted down on this slide some challenges that tend to be associated with the first intuition style that we're going to talk about. Having difficulty with emotional boundaries, perhaps being labeled as a sensitive child, putting other people first and yourself last, being a people pleaser, getting mixed up between what's love and what's sex, or what's emotion and love, or what's emotion and sex. Or being the kind of person that everyone gravitates to tell their problems to, because somehow there's something about you that makes you empathize with people, and they feel comfortable doing that. But that kind of thing leaves you feeling emotionally drained, confused, and overwhelmed. And another challenge, either these type of people either tend to avoid confrontation or have lots of emotional outbursts and arguments. It could go either way. So see whether that resonates with you, whether you recognize yourself in some of these things. And the intuition style that I'm talking about here is intuitive feeling. It's an aspect of the second chakra. Another name for it is clairsentience, clear feeling. And people with this sensitivity often refer to themselves as empaths. But if you can learn to overcome some of the challenges that we just talked about, then it can be a real gift. The main purpose of it is body-spirit communication, so that you can develop a relationship with your own body, but you can also use it to read what's going on in other people's bodies. So if you just start to ask yourself, how much do I experience gut feelings about things? Or I have a feeling that something's not right. Or I have a feeling of excitement that something's about to happen. Or I can walk into a room and I really can tune into the sentiment in the room. Then if that's you, then you've experienced your clairsentience, this intuitive feeling sense that's an aspect of your second chakra. And here's an example of a past student of mine. When I met her, she had some of the issues that we just talked about. And so we were able to identify that this was, she was going through some challenges in her second chakra. And we worked with her second chakra. She developed her clairsentience, and she overcame her challenges and she turned them into a strength, because she ended up becoming a doula and working with women, pregnant women, all through their pregnancy and their childbirth, and looking after their babies afterwards. And she's training in Chinese medicine as well. So it really ended up putting her on a really strong path with respect to tapping into this form of intuition as a gift. Okay, we're moving on to intuition style number 2, and some of the challenges that you might be experiencing if you're in a growth cycle around this one. Controlling others, feeling like you need to control others, because if you don't, you'll be controlled yourself. Or feeling like you're always being victimized and being controlled by other people. Or having a tendency to give your power away to others. Or being a know-it-all. Or like feeling like you know a lot and wanting to share everything that you know all the time with everyone that you meet. Or even kind of having a tendency to lose touch with reality because you're tuning into a lot of knowledge and information of not just this reality, but other realities, and you can get swept away into one of them. Those challenges relate to things that you can go through when your claircognizance or your knowingness, your higher knowing, your intuitive knowing is opening up. That's an aspect of your crown chakra, your 7th chakra. And so let's give you some examples of that. If you have ever known something and you don't know why you know it or how you know it, there's no logic involved, you just instantaneously know it. A classic example is, well, I usually take this route to work, and today, for some reason, something said I just knew I shouldn't go that way, and then I found out there was a big crash. Or I was going to be on a flight to go to this place, but I said no, something told me I shouldn't do it, and then the plane was hijacked. Those kinds of things. Or even just knowing when you're ill, I need to take this herb. Those are all examples of your higher knowing, of your knowingness. And so have a think about yourself and whether you have a tendency to have those types of intuitive experiences where you just know stuff. Here's another student of mine. Nicky's not her real name, but it is a real person. She grew up in a very controlling household. As she grew up, then she gravitated to abusive boyfriends, and she even joined a cult. So she totally was involved in giving her power away to others, believing she was a victim, and so on. And so we worked a lot with her crown chakra to help her let go of all of that and deprogram herself from all of that, so that she could have clarity about her own knowingness, so that she could start to believe in herself and access her own information. So she now really has reclaimed her power and is the conscious director of her life and accesses her own knowing. Intuition style number 3. Here's some of the challenges with that one. And the intellect can affect all of them, but in particular this one. And the emotions can interfere with all of them, but they really can stop you getting access to this one. Fear of what you will see, past life karma. So something happened to you in a past life that makes you really not want to do this ever again. And again, you know, just blurting it out all out without consideration for what you're saying or where other people are at in their journey. Invalidation for others, a culture that doesn't support it, expectations of what it would be like, being tempted to predict the future, and giving advice to people rather than just giving them information. So this is the classic one. This is the third eye, the clairvoyance, and the sixth chakra, which really is the driver's seat of where you can seat your consciousness in your physical body. And what this is, it's the ability to see spiritual phenomena, to tell the truth from a lie, to see clearly about yourself, to see clearly about your life creations and other people. So if you've ever seen something that wasn't really there or that other people couldn't see, if you've been able to see energy fields around people, or you had an invisible friend as a child, or you've seen a ghost or an angel or a deceased loved one, or had visions of other realities, these are all examples of clairvoyance. But it could be scary if other people are not experiencing the same thing. Here's another student of mine, Christina. She's an engineer. She lives in Australia. And she'd been just having these unexplained experiences that didn't jive with her intellect. And she was having the experiences, and yet she was going, no, surely not. But she was curious enough to want to know more about it. And it really was, it was her clairvoyance opening up. She was really quite gifted on the level of her sixth chakra and her clairvoyance. And what I needed to do was to teach her how to bypass her intellect, so she stopped doubting herself. And so she cleared her invalidation, and now she uses her clairvoyance in everyday decisions. All right, now the final one that we're going to cover today is intuition style number 4. This one is, you know, with all of them, some of these things apply to all of them, but in particular this one, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm ill, you know, maybe there's something wrong with me. Having ringing in your ears or other disturbing symptoms, you know, things that you just wish you could switch off and you can't, noises in your head. Discernment it can be an issue with this one when it opens up, like, and learning which voices to trust. You're already getting a clue about what this one is. It's intuitive hearing, which is called clairaudience, your inner listening, and it's an aspect of your 5th chakra. Some typical examples can be if you're dropping off to sleep and you hear someone say your name, or you hear beautiful, comforting music when you're in trouble, or a song plays in your head with just the right message. And then you turn the radio on and guess what song is playing. That's all examples of your clairaudience, your intuitive hearing. This chap wrote to me because he's a scientist and he had unexplained voices in his head, and he had original music just turning up right there in his head. And it was his clairaudience opening up. And he still has trouble accepting the idea of intuition. So his way of explaining it is that he's got a mystical muse, but he's embraced his gift and he's bought himself some computer software and is actually composing music. So, which intuition style are you? We've covered 4 different ones. Intuitive, the first one was feeling, the second one was knowing, the next one was seeing, and then the final one was hearing. Which one do you resonate with the most? And, you know, if you are sort of like, well, I feel like I need to explore this in a bit more depth, I've got this great quiz on my website. It's free and it's on my homepage. So if you go to drlesleyphillips.com and you scroll down about 2/3 of the way down the page, you'll see that there's a few free things that you can download. And one of them is this intuition quiz. And it will take you through 10 questions about different experiences. And by the end of it, you will have a more in-depth evaluation than we've done today about which intuition style you are. So I recommend that you download that. It's free and it's on drlesleyphillips.com. Okay, finishing off this section with another quote. That Marconi, who was the guy with the radio, we're just entering what may be called the field of vibrations, a field in which we may find more wonders than the mind can conceive of. Okay, so far in the webinar, you have learned 4 types of intuition, 7 steps that you can take to awaken your intuition, a whole bunch about challenges that you might be experiencing on your journey to open your intuition. You've got some information about the relationship between chakras and intuition, and also some case studies of people like you who have, overcome their blocks. So now I want to invite you to travel further along your path and invite you. I am currently looking for students for my course, which is called Unlock Your Intuition. And I want to invite you to participate if you feel attracted to it, if you've enjoyed this webinar and you want to continue this journey and go into it in more depth. It's a 12-week commitment. And actually, one great thing about it, that 90 days, we have a 90-day meditation challenge, which takes care of step number 1, because by the time this course is over, you will have developed a meditation habit, and you will see how it helps you so much you'll never want to stop. And you'll learn conscious energy management techniques that stimulate and open your intuition and help you to overcome all the blocks that we've talked about. And this course was developed by working with about 30 of my clients to find out what were the problems they were having. And so it's really, really focused on helping people like you overcome their challenges. This is what the curriculum includes. So, you know, those 7 steps that we talked about today, they are all included as a separate module in the course. So there's 8 weeks where we go through these 8 modules, and each week we're focusing on overcoming a different one of these blocks. And it's not just about overcoming the blocks. You're also being trained in how to consciously access your intuition as we go along as well. So each of these modules includes a main teaching, which has a 20-minute lecture, a bit like this, and a 45-minute meditation. There's a live Q&A, which is an hour or however long it needs to be to make sure that every student on the course has their questions for that week answered. And there's a bunch of support materials, worksheets, extra assignments, tips and tricks. There's no pressure for you to complete the assignments though. And when you have access to this course, you have access to it forever. And the students who've taken it so far, find that there's a lot more that they can go back to, and they can keep honing and developing their intuition even after the 12 weeks is finished. And there's ongoing support. About half the people I work with feel like they need a buddy so that they can be accountable to each other. So that's an optional thing available if you're one of those people. There's a private Facebook group, so if you have questions in between the sessions, that you can post them and have them answered by me and share with the other people. And there's also a Q&A archive. So every group of students that's been through this course, we've recorded the Q&A. So not only do you benefit from the Q&A in your own group, but you can also dip into that and see what other people were asking about. And if that wasn't enough, I think one of you at least will recognize this lady. That's a special bonus feature, and I'm including it this time. I'm not sure that I'm going to include it moving forward, but it's basically a couple of one-on-one sessions with me. If there's stuff that you feel like you need individual assistance with, that you don't feel comfortable talking about in the group, then you get a couple of breakthrough sessions with me. And they're really, really powerful. They really, really helped the students, even though what it ended up, the first group that went through that just graduated, they felt so safe in the group, there really wasn't much that they didn't feel comfortable talking about. And as well, you get to choose one of these 4 courses to match your intuition type. So you go through these 8 modules of unblocking your intuition, and then you get to develop it in even more depth in a tailored fashion, tailored to you. So whichever one you resonated with the most, you can choose that course. I am hoping to get enough students to get started next week, or at the latest the week after. I'm hoping for next week. And it's a small, intimate class. Last time we had about 10 to 12 students. And so it's starting shortly. And the live sessions are going to be on Thursday evenings, so that people on the East and West Coast can participate. The classes, I'm going to be holding the energy for the classes on Monday evenings from 6 to 7, but if you have a busy schedule, you can take those when you want. Now, I want to invite you, if you feel attracted to do this, if it feels like something that you'd like to do, then I want to invite you to discuss it further with me one-on-one. And we can have a chat, we can apply, we can talk about how what you learned today applies specifically to you. We can talk about your specific blocks and your way of being intuitive. And there's 2 ways you can do that. You can write down my cell phone number, 778-235-3039, or you can go onto my website, drlesleyphillips.com, and go to book a session, which you'll find a tab for that under sessions, actually. And there's a place where you can book a free session with me. So it's called a free course consult. And it says it's 15-minute, but it actually allows up to half an hour to chat, and that's free. If you're really serious about developing your intuition and you feel like, you know, you resonate with me, you'd like to learn from me, and you've enjoyed today's webinar, then I encourage you to do that. But of course, it can be a bit of a big, scary leap. So what I want to do now is just share some of the experiences that the students who've been through this course have already had. So this is one of the ladies, and you know, she loved the course. She wrote me a 7-page testimonial, actually, but here's just one little anecdotal thing that she said after about the first 2 weeks. She went to her anxiety doctor, and he couldn't believe it, because her anxiety markers had been erased. And the only thing that she'd done differently was to take the course. And she'd been suffering from anxiety all of her life, and she noticed a massive shift. And actually, there's a massive shift in her energy from the start to the end of the course. Chuck, this is Chuck's experience, or part of his experience. His main challenge was letting go of his intellect. And I mean, he's just saying, you know, he joined it because he wanted to develop his intuition and his psychic powers. But he said, you know, it's not just about that. It's a personal growth course that gives you tools for life, tools for getting through life. And then Nancy had tried lots of ways to access her intuition before she took this course. She'd taken other courses, and none of it had really worked for her. And she'd also had some issues in her life in the past. And she found that this course was amazing in helping her access her intuition and also let go of the stuff that had been affecting her from her past as well. And Laurie, you know, people often want to see instant results. And I would say you will see a shift begin to take place. A lot of them saw a shift after the first week, especially if you do the work and you do the daily meditations. But Laurie noticed instant results. It shifted her life into a more relaxed way of being. And she really found it super helpful. So why is this program different? Well, it's, of course I would say this, but I do really care, and I do really want to. This is my passion. I love doing this, and I love helping people and teaching people to overcome their challenges and to access their intuition. You get to interact with a live teacher. It's a small, intimate group. There is support for you. It's affordable, and the focus is on you. A lot of the students said to me, the classes they'd taken before, it's the teacher just telling them about themselves and their own experiences. And I'll do that if I feel like it helps answer a question, to give an anecdote, but it's really the focus is on you. Here's some extra bonuses. There's some ebooks and videos and podcasts that get included as well. There's a whole system on if you're attracted to use intuition cards as a way of helping you open your intuition. There's a bonus book and online system that you can use at your leisure. It's not part of the course. It's an extra thing that you can do if you want to. So in summary, you're invited to this Unlock Your Intuition course. It's 12 weeks to transform your life and open your intuition. 8 weeks of laying a strong foundation, overcoming your challenges and developing your intuition, and another 4 weeks of going into more depth, one of these styles of intuition. I mean, you don't need to make a buying decision now. You can take me up on that offer to talk to me this week about it. The current price is this. There's a monthly payment plan, which is this. And of course, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know, I'm not sure. This lady, Courtney, was like that. She was on the fence at the beginning because of the financial, but she decided to do it. And she said, after the first session, I thought, wow, with what I learned tonight on this course, it just paid for itself. And after the second session, I knew that it had. So, I mean, the course is actually, it's really no risk at all to you, because there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you find that it's not what you want, then you can have your money back. And, oh gosh, I forgot what I wanted to say. Well, you can, oh, I know. And if you do join this week after having a chat with me, when you have a chat with me, I'll give you a discount code so that you can get an extra $100 off. And so this is because I'm wanting to put a class together to start next week, ideally. So I want to encourage people, make it easy for them to join. So if you take me up, phone me to set up a time for an appointment, or go straight into my booking system, then I'll share the discount code. And I also just want to mention, and of course everyone says this, and I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times from people, but the value of the course is actually a lot more than I'm selling it for. So it really is a bargain. And of course I would say that, but it's true. And here's a few more people who've taken the course who, and by the way, no one who's taken it so far has asked for their money back, because they all really benefited from it. This lady was always looking for validation from other people, and she didn't trust her own intuition, but now she does. Now she doesn't have to ask anyone else. She can ask herself and her own higher guidance. This lady had difficulty concentrating, retaining information, overwhelmed, stress, and so on. The course really helped her own her space, take charge of her energy field, and let go of all of those problems. And her intuition has heightened. And I think the lady on the previous slide, in that quote, her intuition had heightened too. So everyone's noticing big changes in their intuition. If you do want to go and look at the page on my website about the course, it's got more information, then you can go here to drlesleyphillips.com/unlock-your-intuition, and I'll send you that link in an email as well, probably tomorrow, so that you can do that. Finally, I think this is the last slide. Gandhi, he in the face of opposition and being a minority of one, listened to his inner voice, and so he had the courage to develop and tune into his intuition. So now I am going to put on the video, and I'm going to also see if we can look at you guys, and I'm going to also unmute you. Hopefully it won't be too noisy if I do that, and see if you've got any questions. So I think I can see who's here, so I will just ask you if you have any questions about what we learned today, or if you have any questions about the course that I introduced you to. So how about Art Glass? Art Glass, do you have any questions?
Not right now.
Okay, great, thank you. And then there's somebody that's iPhone Sayori. Do you have any questions?
I jumped in right in the middle of your talk, so I'm not too sure what you talked about in the first half. Did you talk about clairsentience?
Yes.
Okay, I have to go back to the replay for that.
Okay.
I'll listen to that and I'll ask you questions later on.
All right, so we'll send you the replay. Yes, we did.
Thank you.
Larry, do you have any questions? I guess not. Ruby, do you?
I think the only, for myself, the most difficult part is that I try too hard. I've been meditating for a couple of years now, and I change styles every now and again because I feel like I get caught up, and on some level, even in my work life, I find I try and make things work all the time. So I think it's just trying to step back and let it flow. And at times it seems to work, and then I surprise myself. I'm like, wow, it seems so easy. I don't know why I don't do that more often. So
Right.
Perhaps it's just a bit of a habit I have that I have to just.
Yeah, and what exactly, and of course, like I said in the talk, that when you go into effort, then you're operating as a body. You're not operating as spirit through a body, because spirit uses no effort. And the course teaches you the difference, and gets you practicing the difference, so you know the difference, so you know what you need to do to be consciously operating as spirit through your body, and let go. you know, and yes, use the body when you need to. Some, you know, some of the stuff we do, we need to use effort, but not your intuition. Your intuition effort will stop you accessing it.
That sounds good.
Great. So, and now we've got somebody call, just, I can only see them by their phone number, 218-343.
It's me,
Oh,
Nancy.
hi, Nancy. Oh, nice.
Hi, Dr. Lesley.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I just came in late, and I enjoy, and I can honestly say I'm the one that took the course before, and the course is awesome. It helped me a lot.
Thanks for saying that. Thanks for saying that, Nancy. And by the way, I didn't even know Nancy was going to be on the call. Yeah, so maybe you could share with these guys a little bit what the experience of being on the course was like. It might be nice to come from a student rather than me.
Actually, what my setback was kind of like the last ladies, where you try too hard and it kind of muffles it up and seems to mess it up. But Dr. Lesley is right. She takes you through the course where she explains it, and then you practice it together. And it's so much easier to do it that way than reading a book and trying to do it yourself, or listening to a lecture and then going home and trying it. Dr. Lesley will explain it, and you go into meditation all together as a group. And I found it to be excellent. I really appreciate it.
And tell them about the group question and answer sessions.
Oh, definitely. I think it's awesome that, okay, Monday is the class, and she goes over new material, and you get a good understanding of it, and you can ask questions at the end of it, but then you also have the time from Monday night to Thursday to practice it, or to think about your questions. And the answer and question and answer session on Thursdays is really, really good, because it ties it in together.
Right.
And it gives you a, yep.
And the group, the people really gelled together, didn't they, Nancy? Everybody,
yes,
felt comfortable.
Oh, definitely. And we were able to talk to each other, and I know on more than one occasion we all came up with the same theme. I think it was the first question and answer, and we all had basically the same. We must have melded together or something, because
yes. It's not an accident that a particular group of people comes together. And so often what will happen is the group taking the class will go through similar growth to one another, and then all be able to support each other and learn from each other as they go through the similar growth cycle. So there was definitely a lot of that happening. So thank you, Nancy, for being here. So I just want to ask everyone, you're unmuted, so if anyone has another question, just shout out and I'd be happy to answer it.
I did the intuition quiz, and I'm equal in B's and E's.
So E was the intellect.
Yeah.
And B, was that the knowingness?
That's claircognizance.
Yeah, the knowingness. Right. Yes. And so that's the classic thing, is that the intellect tends to be the thing that masks the intuition. So that's happening in your case. If you've got lots of E's for your intellect, then that means that sometimes you're going into your intellect rather than your intuition. And then that's blocking you from your knowingness.
Okay.
That's great. Oh, I'm glad you did the quiz. Fantastic. Does anyone else have a question? Is anyone going to feel like they want to have a private chat with me? If there's some questions you don't want to ask in the group now, or we stop the call and then you go, oh, I wish I'd asked that, then remember that you can set up a one-on-one session with me to follow up about this and to talk about whether the courses would be a really good fit for you. And so I
have a question. Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
I don't know if it's worth me doing this because my neck is out of line. And if your neck is out of line, it really screws up the electricity in your body. And electricity is everything for you, right? For psychic abilities, intuition.
Okay.
Would I have to get that corrected first before I even dive into this kind of course?
No, I don't think so, because this course teaches you conscious energy management techniques so that you can use those conscious energy management techniques to clear physical ailments, as well as emotional ones and mental ones. And so you would, within the first week, you would learn a technique that you can start releasing whatever it is that's causing your neck to be out of alignment. And the third or fourth week, you'd learn a really great technique for cleaning out that. And the other thing is that something that would really help, that might help you, and what we had in this group of students was by about the fourth or fifth week, some of them were actually having spontaneous Kundalini experiences. So we had to go into that on the course, and so there's a lot about that on the Q&A, but that would help you very much. Whenever I have a crick in my neck or a problem with my back, I run my Kundalini up my spine and use it to melt away the block. And so I would say it would be great for you to be seeing a chiropractor and getting help with that alignment, but I would not let that stop you from accessing your intuition. I've got a crick in my neck right now and I can still access my intuition. When I do too much computer work, I get a little bit of that. And so I work energetically and I go to see the chiropractor, but I'm doing readings every day and it doesn't interfere with me. So I hope that encourages you not to let that be something that puts you off. Something I find when people first start meditating, sometimes they'll say, I can't do it or I'm not enjoying it because when I sit, I feel pain. And especially the back is a big area for that. And what's happening is it's not that the meditation's causing the pain or making it worse, it's that it's drawing your attention to something that was there all along. And if you continue with the meditation practices, you will heal yourself and you will feel better. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of commitment and determination to get through that hump.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? All right, so if not, then we'll wrap up and I'll send you all the link to watch this again. And I will send you the links that I talked about, my phone number and how to book an appointment. And if you are considering the course, then please set up an appointment this week, because I do have some students already. I'd like a few more, and so it would be just really great to follow up with you this week. And like I said, if you do that and you're serious about it, I'll give you a coupon code, and you can get a little bit more money off the course than the current price. All right, last chance for questions. Are you all good?
Thank you, Lesley. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're really, really welcome. And thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate you being here. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And I am going to turn off the record.